Fernando Mendoza is already creating tension inside the Raiders locker room. His intense rookie minicamp approach has frustrated some veteran teammates. The coaching staff still loves his fire, but questions are growing about whether his perfectionist style is causing problems before training camp even begins. And wait until you hear what Raiders veterans allegedly said behind closed doors, the confession that shocked everyone. Mendoza sat in the Raiders facility, barely a week after going #1 overall, cameras rolling for the team website. And instead of giving rehearsed answers about being honored and working hard, he said something that made headlines everywhere.
The #1 overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner, guy with a squeaky clean image built around faith and charity work, just admitted he was hard to play with. He compared himself to Favre and Rodgers, two quarterbacks famous for pushing teammates past their limits. But here's where it gets interesting. In the same breath, he said leadership is earned, not given, and that he plans to fall in line as the new guy. He's walking a razor's edge, telling you he ran Indiana with an iron fist, while also telling his new Raiders teammates he hasn't proven anything yet and knows
Bottom of the totem pole. He said it over and over, at minicamp, at his press conference, when asked about the White House visit. Every time a microphone got near his face, Mendoza reminded everyone he sees himself as the lowest man in the building. When asked if he'd join his Indiana teammates at the White House, he said he couldn't miss OTAs. The #1 pick, Heisman winner, leader of a perfect season, choosing practice over meeting the president. Not about politics, about not making a bad first impression on his new Raiders teammates. Fans were divided. Some respected the dedication. Others were furious. One fan commented, "He's literally the #1 pick. With great power comes great responsibility." But underneath all the debate, the a-hole comments, the totem pole talk, the White House decision, there's a much deeper story about a quarterback who almost never played at this level at all. To understand why Mendoza carries that strange mix of humility and ferocity, you have to go back to where this all started. And it started about as far from the #1 pick as you can get. Fernando Gabriel Mendoza V. Born October 1st, 2003 in Boston. Grew up in Miami, attended Christopher Columbus High School. His stats were respectable, 1,396 yards, 16 touchdowns, but nowhere near what big-time programs wanted. His options were limited. He committed to Yale before his senior year. That was the reality. The man who just went #1 overall was headed to Ivy League football. No scholarship, no national TV, no path to the NFL. Then, one thing changed everything. In January 2022, Cal Berkeley offered him a scholarship after another quarterback decommitted. That was it. One offer from one Power 5 school out of more than 130. And they only wanted him because somebody else said no first. Cal's offensive coordinator had been searching for a quarterback after his original target backed out. Mendoza was a last resort option, a two-star recruit barely anyone noticed. He redshirted in 2022, then earned his first start in Week 6 of the 2023 season. He wasn't even handed the job. He had to wait for his chance. When the door opened, he took it. In 8 starts as a redshirt freshman, 63% completion rate, 1,708 yards, 14 touchdowns. Solid. Good enough to come back. But entering 2024, Cal brought in a transfer to compete with him for the starting spot. The coaching staff wasn't fully sold on Mendoza yet. Cal fans were frustrated. Despite all that, Mendoza pushed through and had a breakout year. 3,004 yards, 16 touchdowns. Then, heartbreak hit. Cal started 3-0 with a road win at Auburn, built a 35-10 lead against #8 Miami with College game day watching. Then, collapsed, surrendered 2 late touchdowns and lost. Then lost 4 straight by a combined 9 points. Mendoza called it devastating, and it broke the program from the inside. December 11th, 2024, Mendoza entered the transfer portal. 12 days later, he chose Indiana over Georgia and Missouri. The Cal community erupted. Fans called him a traitor. They had invested in this kid through every heartbreaking close loss, and now he was gone. The damage spread fast. Mendoza himself admitted feeling guilty because his departure may have triggered running back Jaden Ott and tight end Jack Plummer to leave too. He said, "I feel like if I would have stayed, maybe there would have been a greater chance of all 3 of us staying together. When the quarterback walks out, everyone else starts looking for the exit too." The Cal exodus was sweeping. A power struggle broke out inside the program. Reports surfaced that a new offensive coordinator was accelerating player departures. Cal ranked 133rd out of 134 FBS teams in rushing offense the following season. Without Mendoza, without Ott, without Plummer, they were a shell. So why Indiana? Because head coach Curt Cignetti promised to develop him into the best quarterback he could be. Mendoza didn't chase the biggest brand or the biggest NIL deal. He chose a school that had never been a football powerhouse. And there was a personal reason too. His younger brother Alberto was already a redshirt freshman quarterback at Indiana. Family, coaching, development. That was the pitch, and Mendoza bought in completely. None of that explanation mattered to the people still calling him a traitor. They saw a guy who laughed when things got hard and chased glory somewhere else. That label followed him straight through the 2025 season. But what happened next was one of the most remarkable individual seasons in college football history. The so-called traitor proceeded to destroy every team Indiana faced. 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 3,535 passing yards, a 72% completion rate, a 182.9 passer rating. Indiana went 16-0, their first national championship in program history. Those numbers are staggering on their own. They become almost unbelievable when you remember this kid had one FBS scholarship offer 3 years earlier. And it wasn't just the numbers, it was the big moments. Road win at Penn State. He hit a touchdown pass in the final seconds at everyone called a Heisman moment. Big Ten championship against #1 Ohio State led Indiana to a 13-10 win and their first Big Ten title since 1967. Rose Bowl against Alabama, completed 14 of 16 passes, 3 touchdowns, won 38-3. Peach Bowl against Oregon, 17 of 20, 5 touchdowns, won 56-22. National championship against Miami, threw for 186 yards and rushed for a touchdown in a 27-21 win. Perfect. Undefeated. Champions. This is where the a-hole leadership came into play. Mendoza didn't just perform, he dragged everyone around him to a level Indiana had never reached. In a 16-0 season, there are days where energy dips and guys start to coast. By his own admission, he wasn't having it. He pushed, he demanded, he held everyone to a standard a lot of people probably hated in the moment. But it worked. When the confetti fell after the Miami game, nobody was calling him an a-hole. They were calling him a champion. Mendoza then became the 5th Heisman winner drafted by the Raiders, joining Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, Tim Brown, and Charles Woodson. Raiders GM John Spytek said it simply: the thing that comes back from everyone who works with him is this guy's a machine. There was never any real suspense. April 2026, the Raiders made Fernando Mendoza the first overall pick. The 2-star kid from Miami who was headed to Yale was now the most important player on an NFL franchise. But here's a reality check. Despite the Heisman and the perfect season, Mendoza is not expected to start Week 1. The Raiders signed Kirk Cousins as a bridge starter. Tom Brady has called it a tragedy when teams force rookies to play too early. Head coach Clint Kubiak was clear at the Combine. Ideally, you don't want a rookie starting from day 1. So the #1 pick walks in, and the plan is for him to sit. Then, an anonymous ACC coach poured fuel on the fire, telling ESPN that Mendoza doesn't have NFL traits, that his receivers made him look better, and that his back shoulder throws will get picked off in the league. Devastating. But the context matters. This coach last saw Mendoza at Cal in 2024, before Indiana, before 41 touchdowns, before the Heisman, before the championship. 4 other coaches told the same reporter that Mendoza was one of the most complete quarterback prospects they had seen. 1 outdated opinion versus 4 glowing endorsements. But fire has no fuel. Inside the Raiders facility, the early returns have been overwhelmingly positive. After just 2 days of rookie minicamp, it was clear Mendoza is just one of the guys. Offensive lineman Trezone III said he's a guy's guy who connects with everyone and is a great leader. Safety Trey Elston called him super funny. And Mendoza was living the totem pole talk, not just saying it. On Friday night of minicamp, he gathered his offensive linemen in a hotel room to run extra snaps under center, the Heisman winner organizing a walkthrough session while other rookies were probably sleeping. Raiders legend showed up with advice. Marcus Allen told him to be a great teammate and work his tail off. Tim Brown told him not to try to be Brady or Mahomes, just be himself. And even Kirk Cousins, the man whose job Mendoza will eventually take, embraced the situation completely, saying he doesn't want to start unless he's the best option. So is Mendoza begging the Raiders not to cut him? No, he's doing something far smarter. He's a man who watched what happens when you walk into a new building acting like you own it. He saw that dysfunction at Cal. He lived through it, and now he's making sure it doesn't happen again. Every time he says bottom of the totem pole, he's sending a clear message to every veteran in that locker room. I'm here to earn my place, not take yours. The demanding, standard-setting side of Mendoza hasn't gone anywhere. He told you it hasn't. He's just choosing when to unleash it. Right now, he's building trust, studying playbooks in hotel rooms, and skipping the White House for OTAs. When he's earned the equity, that other side comes out, and the Raiders will be better for it. Robert Griffin III said it best. Mendoza brings the identity this team needs from a leadership standpoint and is willing to do anything to help his team win. From a 2-star kid going to Yale to the #1 pick in the NFL draft, called a traitor, called an a-hole, told he has no NFL traits. His response every single time has been the same: put his head down and go to work. The Raiders aren't cutting Fernando Mendoza. They're building everything around him, and that should terrify the rest of the AFC.